I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street. This episode is brought to you by Squeaky Clean Window Cleaning. Squeaky Clean Window Cleaning is a San Antonio area window cleaning service that specializes in residences. Click on the logo link on the Support the Show page. It'll take you to a contact page where you can request a bid. In the comments section on that page, mention Fascination Street and you will get $100 off of your first whole house window cleaning, whether that's inside and outside or just the outside of the windows. Thanks for supporting the show. Hey guys, this episode is with author Kim Terry. I met Kim at a book signing and she politely agreed to sit down with me. In this episode, we talk about her being an English teacher for a pretty long time at a college and then transitioning into being a writer. And she talks about the book that she has out now, the book that's about to come out, and then she drops a couple of hints about some stories that might come out in the future. Also, there's a special contest in this episode, so pay attention. Enjoy, guys!
Yeah, talk to me,
yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this is author Kim Terry. I ran into Kim Terry and her husband at a book signing recently in a small town just outside of San Antonio. My wife and I thought that it'd be a great addition to the podcast, so welcome, Kim Terry.
All right, thank you.
Before we get into your authorship, where are you from?
I'm a Fort Worth girl.
A Fort Worth girl, all right. So born and raised in Fort Worth?
Born and raised in Fort Worth.
Awesome.
My husband and I lived in Arlington because that's where I was teaching college. And so it was just a straight shot. I didn't even have to get off on the freeway to go to the school. As a result, I pushed it to the last minute.
Aha, that's funny. So were you late to school every day?
Maybe, just maybe a little bit late for office time, but I was not late for classes.
So what made you want to be a teacher?
Well, for one thing, I think it's in the DNA. My mother was a teacher, only she never did teach college. She taught junior high and high school.
Okay.
But I guess it was just sort of in the DNA.
Nice. So what did you teach?
English.
English? That's a required course, is that right?
Oh, yes. Yes, they can't get out of there alive without English.
How long did you teach English?
I taught 27 years as an adjunct. And that's fancy language for you fly by the seat of your pants every semester and hope you get enough classes.
Okay, so that means that you don't have, what do they call it, tenure?
No, I didn't have tenure. I applied for full-time professorship, but someone with a PhD in his hot little hand.
So for 27 years, you just rolled the dice about whether you were going to even have a job and then have enough classes to pay your bills?
Well, the regular semesters, fall and spring, were pretty much givens. The last two summer sessions, I sweated because I would see the classes on the computer, but a lot of times I would find out at the last minute, without anyone calling me, that they had fallen through.
Oh, really?
And that sort of shaped my decision that I needed to retire.
In those 27 years, did you notice a difference from, say, the beginning to the end of the type of students you were getting?
You do not want to get me started on that.
Well, as long as you don't use names, I think we're cool.
Oh, they know who they are.
Oh, there you go.
No, yes, I did. I started out teaching at one campus at night, and I felt that those students were much more mature. They were, for the most part, older. They were not just right out of high school, and they had arranged to come there and concentrate. Even the ones who didn't make any passing grades, they at least made the effort to get there. So I had a pretty good start. These younger ones who just get out of high school, I don't know whether it's their parents pressuring them to go to college or what, but they just think, well, the next step out of high school is to go to college. And I taught at a community college, a 2-year college. A lot of these students thought it was just like the 13th grade. They didn't even regard it as college.
So they still acted like they were in high school?
They still acted like they were in high school.
So still not adults.
They were still not adults. They're taller, hairier, but they're not adults.
They got keys to a car, and
Yeah.
that's about the difference.
Uh-huh. And they could go fight overseas if they
Sure.
were called, if they had to, but
Do you think that was a contributing factor if you deciding to bail out?
definitely.
Really?
They had a whole different idea of what it took to write a paper. As long as they could find it on the internet, that was the main thing. I was catching them at plagiarism.
Like all day, every day, huh?
Yeah. My husband would tell you that he would be upstairs working on something, and I would be downstairs, and he would hear me because the acoustics were really good.
Uh-huh.
We had vaulted ceilings, so he heard me loud and clear when I ran into a paper
Nice.
that was either very poorly written or plagiarized.
How did you find the plagiarisms on the internet? Did you just
Well, I have
type some of it in?
there was a tool called turnitin.com.
Okay.
And it detects the similarity index between the student's paper and the original source.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Nice. That's got to make it easier. That can't be a cool tool for all those idiots. So that kind of helped you decide, well, maybe this just isn't the current climate for me to keep trying to do this.
Well, I tried to keep a sense of humor about it. I almost had fun confronting some of these kids about it.
Almost.
I would just,
Sort of like a, haha, I got you.
I would ask them to stay after class, and then I would bring their paper, and I would lay out the Turnitin paper. And I would say, do you have any questions? Oh, how did that happen?
Nice. I wonder. So what do you just give them an F, or what do you do to them? Take my class?
They automatically get at least fail that assignment.
Sure.
If they continue, they fail the course. Yeah.
So they kind of get one freebie. It's not a freebie because they get an F or a 0, but catch them again and it's out of class. All right, good for you.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of them that got caught the first time?
I was pretty soft on them the first time, but I did have a recourse to turn in a report
Sure.
to someone higher up.
All right. Well, let's talk about writing.
Okay. Oh, let's talk about writing.
Yeah,
let's get off of school.
Let's stop
I'm
talking about
retired.
these idiot children's. So, how old were you when you first decided that you wanted to become a writer?
That also was in the DNA because my mother was a writer.
Really?
But she never did attempt a novel. She did publish a couple of full-length books, but they were...
What's the difference between a full-length book and a novel?
A novel is fiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she published some true full-length books?
She published a gift book for brides called By His Side.
So this is like ideas for gift giving?
Well, no, it was a gift book for brides. It was spiritually based about what the Bible says about marriage.
Okay.
And so
So this was a gift to be given to a potential bride?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Not necessarily by her husband or anything, but just by people?
Just people wanting to give a gift to a bride.
Okay.
Her publisher kept a number of them, and I also found some in the bookstores.
Oh, cool. So was that what it was called?
By His Side, A
By His
Woman's
Side.
Place. And then I think along the way, the title got changed. And then there was a book, and this has been so far back, but I came across another book she wrote, spiritually based, Learn and Live.
What about your dad? What did he do?
He was a local radio and TV announcer.
Oh, really?
Or KRLD.
And that's in
In Dallas.
Dallas?
Yeah. Ever since I had been a little tot, he was announcing at WBAP, which was just practically across the fence.
Oh, cool.
He was something of a local celebrity.
Sure.
And my mother, back in the day when she would go to the store, they said, "Oh, you're Jim Terry's wife." So it was really nice because when I was growing up and getting ready for school, I would I would be listening to my daddy's show on my program, and I count myself fortunate that I grew an appreciation for his kind of music, like from the 40s and the easy listening music that he played, and my own music from my own generation.
Very cool.
Plus, he brought home stacks of LPs.
Oh, I'm sure. Do they have that little notch cut out of the
Yes,
corner
well,
of them?
they had some kind of little thing that the LPs that he brought home were either records that didn't fit the station format,
right.
or might have had some duplicates. He brought a bunch of them home. For a while, we treated them rather irreverently. We treated them like placemats.
Right.
And then he, after he retired from radio in 1970, then he started recording some of those records and taking them around and having his own little DJ booth.
Really?
Yes, he used to do events, receptions, and things like that.
That's cool.
Yeah. He even did some wedding receptions.
That's really neat. So you're a tiny little tot and you decide you want to write. Do you remember the first time you wrote something, a story or anything that...
I remember my first poem.
Well, you don't remember the poem.
I do remember the poem because I made it up.
You remember it right now?
Yeah. The sky is blue, the grass is green, the roof is brown, how much I've seen.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
I don't remember a whole what I had for lunch yesterday, but I do remember that poem.
That's awesome. So is that how you started writing poetry?
I was a published poet before I started writing novels.
And when did you decide to transition into storytelling?
Well, I had little rough drafts of stories, but I never did type them up and send them to any publisher. My cousin, who gave me this necklace, sent me an email back in 2009. She said, this is not my bag, but it has your name written all over it. And it was an email about the Laughing Gull Writing Workshop in Port Aransas.
The Laughing Gull?
The Laughing Gull Writing Workshop.
Port Aransas, Texas?
Port Aransas, Texas. And that's where she lived. And she said, it's been 30 years since I've seen you. She had invited her friends to a reception. She said, my cousin Kim, I haven't seen her in 30 years. She's coming to see me. So she had a little wine and cheese party when I got there. I just sort of went out of interest. And even though I wrote poetry, I thought, it'd be sort of fun to explore something that was totally off the wall. So I went to a mystery writer's workshop. And so this guy was talking about, he actually led us through some little exercises about how to make something mysterious. But there was this presentation that was supposed to be a part of that class that night in one of the condos on the beach, Port Aransas, called Murder 101.
Okay.
So, and that was open to anyone who wanted to come, so I brought my cousin BG. She and I were on the elevator, and a bunch of the people from our class were there, and they were talking about the gun with the bullets that were the deadliest, and the poison that could kill had the fastest reaction time, and all this stuff. And these residents at this condo were like, oh.
Open the elevator doors and let me out of here. Yeah. These people is crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a really good presentation. They covered blood spatter patterns and even situations where you couldn't detect that somebody had been killed. It just looked like they had died. All of these different scenarios. And so my mind got to working. And even though I had not ever thought of writing a mystery, on my way home on the plane back to the Fort Worth, Dallas area, I started writing this story about this daughter who was taking care of her mother, who had developed Alzheimer's. But the daughter had a secret. That comes in the next book.
So that's the book that's out right now.
Well, the book that's out right now is...
the one that you started thinking of that day that you left.
Oh yes, the book that I was thinking of that day is coming out in January.
Okay.
So this takes some of the characters from 1950s to 1971. The mother of this baby is a 17-year-old unwed teenager
Okay.
who has been coerced not only by her parents, but by the charge nurse to put the baby up for adoption because it's only right.
And what's the name of this story?
From her mother's arms.
From Her Mother's Arms. Did you say that that's coming out in January?
No, this
that's
is the
out
book
right
that's
now.
out now.
So that's out right now. Folks, we're recording this a little bit early. This is actually August that we're recording this, but as you're listening to it, it's in January. And a new book is coming out in January, is
Yes.
that right? And what's the name of that book?
By her daughter's hands.
By Her Daughter's
And that's a
Hands.
murder mystery.
Okay. So in the first book, we're introduced to these characters and to this young lady's situation and how she deals with it. And then in the second book, shit goes down.
Yes.
Okay. I think it's fascinating that you had been teaching writing for 20 years and writing poetry and things before you even decided you wanted to write a mystery story. How cool is that?
It's pretty cool.
I mean, that's kind of neat.
Of course, my husband sleeps with one eye open.
Well, I would too. That is no BS right there. I can't imagine finding scraps of paper where you're working out how to kill somebody and it just happens to say your husband's name. Like, what? What's going on here? No, that's just a writing exercise,
Yeah.
sweetheart. Pay no attention to that.
Don't worry, honey, I only kill the purpose in my book.
There you
so
go.
far.
Yeah. Your internet browser history must be
Oh, yes.
very interesting.
Yes, I
Poisons and
yeah.
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, how to poison people, and this is a different story I have in mind. But even things like witness protection.
Yeah, you're going to deal with some of that and maybe some different stories.
Yeah.
So, how many books are going to be in this particular series?
Well, 2 books in this particular series.
Okay.
Possibly another one because the mother, when she grows up, after she leaves the baby and puts it up for adoption, she goes to New York and she becomes an actress.
Okay.
And as fate would have it, she makes this classic movie. She's one of these stars like Lana Turner, who
Okay.
just has this magic. Somebody magically discovers her and makes her famous. After that first movie, she is filming another one on the set when her mother calls her from Lamesa. And
Lamesa, Texas.
yes, Lamesa, Texas.
Wow.
And she says, and these are the same parents who banished her from the home. These are the same parents who said, leave the baby, put the baby up for adoption. So she's already bitter. She's still struggling with her bitterness for them. She cannot forgive them, yet there's no one else but her to come back and care for them.
Gotcha.
The book that may come in between From Her Mother's Arms and By Her Daughter's Hands is this third one that is about her struggles as both an actress, a blossoming actress, and her resentment.
Well, you haven't quite worked out the details.
I haven't quite worked
of
out the
whether or not this
details.
third book's even going to happen.
No.
Okay. Have you written the second book? Is it
Oh
already
yes,
written?
for the most part, it's in the editing mode.
Cool. Back to, I believe you said this young lady is from Lamesa?
The 17-year-old mother is from Lamesa, Texas. Picture small town Lamesa, Texas in the 1950s. For one, nice girls didn't wind up in the family way.
I'm going to go ahead and stop you right there to let you know that this is a fortuitous meeting. Back in the mid-1950s, around Lamesa, Texas, in Lomita or Lampasas, somewhere around there, this young lady was impregnated by a much, much older man. She was probably a babysitter or something for his family. I'm unclear on that.
Yeah.
And this young lady ended up giving the baby up for adoption. That baby is my father.
Oh, okay.
So it sounds oddly familiar to this yarn you're spinning about this young lady.
I have no idea about your
Well,
father.
I'm sure that it's not him, but how weird is that?
Well, there is that situation that a lot of these teenage girls, this particular pregnancy happened because her boyfriend messed around with his girlfriend.
Gotcha.
So they were showing up at the prom in person together to get back at their exes.
Sure.
And things went too far because she didn't know that he had a score to settle and it was the ultimate score. He was going to come on to her.
Oh, nicely put.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then he got run out on the rail. This boy, let me see how I can put this.
His name Jeff?
No, his name was Damon, actually.
Oh, okay.
And he wound up in a strange situation because the father of the girl who turned out to be his wife put two and two together and figured he was the father of her baby. So he had been a bad boy back then.
Clearly. Wow, that's a really big deal for back then, especially.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Nowadays, not so much.
Yeah, and these days it's like your point is.
Right. So when you started writing this novel, how did you find a publisher?
Actually, through our connections. Someone who knows someone who knows someone.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And you're super happy, you were telling me earlier, with your publisher. Mm-hmm. Do you want to give this person's name or a shout out, or maybe, or?
Michael Butler, Michael D. Butler from Beyond Publishing.
Very cool. And right now you are on a book tour, is that right?
Self-designed.
What does that mean, self-designed? Because I met you at a book signing.
Yes.
It's my understanding that that weekend you had 2 additional book signings. I believe there's another one tonight or tomorrow or something, right?
For tomorrow night.
So this sounds like a book tour.
My husband is my manager.
Okay.
So he's in charge of arranging these appointments.
And your publisher is super excited about this. He's on board.
He is publicizing it and he's blowing it out nationwide on social media, the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I even put the link on LinkedIn, and I just yesterday worked on my author page on Amazon.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
When this episode comes out, as you guys are listening, anybody who tweets the show at Fascination Street Pod with the hashtag Kim Terry, I will send the first 5 people who do that an autographed copy of your book, which is called
From Her Mother's Arms.
From Her Mother's
Yes.
Arms. Miss Terry was kind enough to sign these books a couple of days ago when we agreed to do this. And those 5 books, you don't pay shipping, you don't pay anything. You just get that for tweeting at me with the hashtag Kim Terry. Kim, where can people find you?
I have a Facebook author page, facebook.com/author Kim Terry.
Okay.
I have even, the Amazon one, amazon.com, author Kim Terry.
Okay.
I'm on Twitter as author Kim Terry,
Author Kim
at
Terry.
author Kim Terry.
Okay.
And even Instagram, they can find me.
Author Kim Terry as
Author
well?
Kim Terry. Yeah.
Okay, great. So the book that's coming out in January is called
By Her Daughter's Hands.
By Her Daughter's Hands.
And that has yet to be completed.
What do you want to say about the first book? And by that I mean, give us the elevator pitch. Get people excited to read this first book. You have done a pretty good job so far, I feel.
Sybil was told that it was the best thing for the baby to give the baby up for adoption. But is it always the best thing for the baby? And what happened to the baby?
Gotcha. And do you want to lay any groundwork for the second book, the one that comes out in January? It's okay if you say no.
Only that the first book takes them from 1950 to 1971. The second book is much later. It's in Fort Worth, and it takes them from 2001 to 2002.
It's much later.
Yeah, much later. But there is a little bit in the book about some characters being affected by 9/11.
Okay. So there's a 30-year gap in between these 2 books.
And the teenage girl in the first book is now challenged with Alzheimer's.
Oh my
and her
goodness.
daughter has been called from Barcelona, Spain, where she had a writing assignment / second honeymoon. They were all excited about going there. She just gets there and she happens to check and see that the phone light is flashing. The front desk has been calling her and she finds out that her dad has had a heart attack,
Gotcha.
and that her mother is, someone is staying with her mother until she can get home. So once again, there's that conflict between what someone really wants and what actually happens. What life takes its little turns.
Aside from this particular storyline, do you have other ideas for other?
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
She's got a
This
ton
is
of
not the
ideas.
first. That song, give me a man after midnight.
No.
ABBA.
Because I'm only 40 something. I don't know.
Now
that song.
this has been recent. But Man After Midnight, not only is it a musical, but
Is it in Mamma Mia?
yes, in Mamma Mia.
Okay.
It's ABBA sang it. But this is not. My Man After Midnight is about someone whose daughter gets involved in a sex trafficking ring simply through by flirting around with a boy that she thought was her age online on a dating site. Turns out that he was a much older man, and the daughter disappears.
What happened to you that you got all these twisted ideas, man? That's crazy.
And I didn't tell him about him until after we married.
Yeah, that's a smart girl right there. That's very interesting.
And there's this other story that I'm working on about a professor who's in her 40s. She's sort of plain looking, dumpy looking. And when a heavy Aztec statue falls on her head, it gives her a concussion. She starts dreaming about this Aztec warrior who comes to her only when she's asleep. And they have this love affair. And of course, people think she's crazy.
Sure.
Until one day when she attends a faculty reception for a new professor, she's going through the line, and this man, he leans over and whispers something to her that only this character would have said. And she sees little lint where a feather, he was wearing the feather behind his. The title is called Crimson Feathers.
Now, you're gonna think I'm making this up too, but my dad, he actually wrote a song called Lover Tormentor, which was about a lover who only came to this lady while she was asleep. This is crazy. Are you sure you're not my dad?
He wouldn't have married me if I had any.
All right, why don't you tell me about this beautiful hair? What inspired this beautiful hair?
My hairdresser said that my blonde hair was getting too dry.
Too dry?
Yes,
Okay.
I had been going to her and having her put more highlights, please, more highlights, please. And one day when I went in there, she said, your hair it feels like straw. Why don't we try a different color? Why don't we try red? So the first color she tried on me was not red enough. I saw America's, who is it where Sharon Osbourne is on there?
America's Got Talent, maybe?
America's Got Talent. Sharon Osbourne, I thought, that's it. I want Sharon Osbourne's color hair. So my hairdresser, who I had been going to ever since the 1990s, I miss her like crazy by now. She turned me into Sharon Osbourne hair, and it has just become a persona.
Well, I like it. It looks great on you.
Thank you.
You guys can see that in the picture on the website. What are your plans going forward between now and January? What are you going to be doing? Don't look at him.
Well, let's
If he had it his way, you're just going to be autographing books from now till January.
Let's put it this way. When we moved out of our home in late May of this year, we downsized into an RV, and we were planning to see the country. Yes.
You sold your house.
We sold our
got
house.
rid of a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
And you now.
And we what we didn't get rid of, we put in storage.
Okay.
Thinking eventually, if we needed something, we could make a trip back to Fort Worth or Arlington, where it is.
Gotcha.
But I started naming all these places I wanted to see that were on my bucket list, like Niagara Falls, Nashville, Tennessee.
Comfort, Texas.
It was, I didn't even know there was a Comfort, Texas. But everyone has been so nice here, and I'm starting to wear Comfort like a second skin.
This is a very lovely, sweet little town.
Oh, yes. But when this writing thing took hold, the focus shifted around toward where we can find places where we can sign books that will host book signings. And tomorrow is our 4th venue.
I'm assuming that you're just going to be doing a whole lot of traveling and book signing between now and the time that the next book comes out.
That and maybe working our way towards San Diego where one of my sons lives. He's a Marine Colonel.
Oh.
So he knows we're coming.
Nice. Well, thank you, Colonel Terry.
Yes, Colonel Johnson.
Colonel Johnson, sorry.
Yeah.
And of course, hopefully you're going to work your way to Niagara between now and then.
Maybe they'll have some book signings, some places to host book signings, and maybe I'll be signing even my 2nd book, which will help me even more with my 1st book, because people will want to put the story together.
Absolutely. Well, I, for one, cannot wait to read it.
Okay.
I was intrigued before, but now, since it's about my dad, I'm super, super intrigued. Okay, so you told us everywhere we can find you. Is there anything that I didn't ask that you want to say?
This is actually my 2nd interview. And my first one was mainly it was an article that I filled out the information and sent it back to her.
Gotcha.
But one of the questions that she asked was, what would you tell someone who is inspired to write? And I would just say, don't give up. Write. When you're not writing, read. Read not only in craft books that hone your voice and your plot development, but read everything you can get your hands on that will help give you some idea of what a good story and even a bad story looks like.
So be a sponge and don't give up.
Yes, be a sponge and don't give up.
Nice. All right, great. Well, again, I want to thank you very much, Kim Terry, for sitting down with me.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
It was my pleasure.
Hey guys, if you like what I'm doing, rate and review the podcast on iTunes and wherever else you're getting the podcast. And if you do order things from Amazon, it would really help me out if you use that Amazon banner that's on the website at fascinationstreetpod.com and just click through whenever you're buying stuff from Amazon. You can click through the first time and then save that to your favorites or bookmark it, and every time you use it, you don't have to go to the website to get there. I appreciate it, guys. Enjoy. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.